what's going on, y'all? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And you're about to watch a little OTB LSU.
We're going to give you all the latest, greatest between LSU football, baseball, women's basketball, softball, and everything in between.
Bottom line, if you want to talk Tigers, keep it locked, subscribe, like it, and we hope you enjoy it. We are very lucky on this show as we get to talk to the head man of LSU baseball, Coach Jay Johnson. Coach, thank you so much for waking up with us once again this Thursday. Big series coming up. We'll get into all of it. How you feeling today, Coach?
Good. Got in late last night here to Oxford and get the guys up and rolling and ready for a good day to get ready.
Okay, is
that a bus trip, Coach?
Is that normal?
Yeah.
Getting there that early, the full day. So not traveling on Thursday, but having a full day to acclimate there.
Well, when we go on the bus, I like to do that. I think you think about you practice on Wednesday. Wednesday night, they're not going to do a whole lot at home, so we spend that time to travel. Okay. And then today, you get them into study hall, weight training, get a practice over there, and then a full day after that. It kind of is like we're at home, and that worked out for us last year at Mississippi State and Alabama. So decided we were going to stay with it.
That's cool. It's got to be fun for the fellas, too, right? Like, I always find that there's nothing better for accelerating, like, team bonding and everything else than getting out there on the road together.
It's
and
more of a pro-style trip. Us football guys, they didn't give us that much time.
No, that is true. Then again, we didn't have to, we were flying or whatever. So, hey, Coach, so I know the midweek game, the result was not what you wanted, and I know you had some very interesting quotes about like taking losses to heart and kind of what you learned over the years. But from my perspective, it is hard to overstate how excited I was to see Javen Coleman out there, great inning, 3 up, 3 down, 2 Ks, fighting back from 3-1 against. Like, how was it getting to see Javen Coleman back on the mound after that lengthy recovery that you have to go through after Tommy John?
Yeah, that was awesome. I'm really happy for him. It's actually the fastest recovery from that surgery I've ever seen. And Javen deserves a lot of credit for that in terms of the work that he put in. He obviously was a huge part of our team last year, and I've stated before, I really would have liked to see, if we just had kept him healthy, how 2022 might have turned out. I mean, we were close to going to Omaha anyway. So, but to get him back right now, very timely for this team. So it's great for him. That's a great lift for our team.
Yeah, Coach, what's that progression going to be like for him? You give him an inning the other night, and obviously, like, you want to slow play this. You want to make sure that he is doing exactly what he needs to be doing as far as building up to full strength. So what's that going to look like?
Yeah, I think, he responded well yesterday. There wasn't a ton of soreness, which was great. So, you can probably elevate him 15 pitches to maybe another inning. But we'll do that slowly.
Right.
What we're kind of looking at is, do we want to build it up or do we want to use him twice a week? If you use him twice a week, then the pitch count's got to stay low in those outings. Or do we, continue to build him and see if we can get, one good shot out of him? And that's still something that'll probably be determined by how he responds each time he throws. And but so far so good with the first one, and certainly excited to get him back out there again.
Coach, one thing that I love, and it's a bit odd, right? Because when you talk about y'all's team and the season you've had, there's no other team in the SEC that has a winning conference record whose opponents also have a winning conference record, right? So you've played the toughest team and you've won every series, and you've held that number 1 ranking. But with that number 1 ranking, we look at quibbles and we look at, okay, where can you be better? You got to be better here, and you critique even though things have been good, right? And I think a lot of times when there is that noise as players, there's a temptation to get defensive, which is why I really kind of loved what Cade Beloso had to say yesterday. As he says, quote, "We haven't been playing our best brand of baseball." And that's something we've been talking about, right? Even with the Kentucky series, we don't feel we played great. We're going to fix things, no doubt about it. I feel like that really speaks to the leadership of this team. Have you noticed your own team saying, yeah, look, the results are good, but we can be better?
Yeah, no question about it. One of my things I say to them all the time is we're not going to accept in winning what we wouldn't accept in losing. And there's only 2 teams, I think, in the country that have as few losses as we do. And the schedule that we've played, that's a good accomplishment for those guys. And what it also does is when you play good opponents, it exposes some of the things that you need to get better at. And there's a lot of things, A, we need to get healthy. B, we need to make sure we're throwing strikes. C, we need a couple more pitchers to step up. When we played good opponents, they've put a little more pressure on us, and defensively, not quite as good as we were early in the year. Offensively, hard to pick at right now, to be honest with you, when you're scoring, 10 runs a game. But there's a few things, few at bats per game that, they hear about it, and it needs to be a little bit better. So I love that about them. We have bigger vision. Something we talked about this year is just we're going to play to a standard that is above winning, and really awesome to hear Cade say something like that. I didn't know he said that because I feel like they've bought into that and doing a great job with that thought.
Well, and I just want to stay on Cade for a second because without a doubt, I mean, we've talked about Javen Dugas plenty this season, but, right beside Dugas is maybe like the most heartwarming story of the year is after Beloso suffers that just brutal injury before the game starts, just like the worst possible way to go out as an athlete after all the offseason work is done, for him to now come back to be the bona fide everyday DH, hitting, just mashing it like he is. As a fan, it's awesome to see. What's it been like as a coach watching Beloso's rise through this year?
Yeah, it's awesome. Like, he was not coming off a good season when we came in here. And I remember meeting with him in the summer, within a week of getting the job. He drove over and we sat down and watched some video and said, hey, we're going to strip down everything that you're doing right now and start over. And he did it. He put in a lot of work with Mark Wanaka and the cages and has done everything we asked him to do. Well, then he gets hurt. And then for a while, there was this thought of like, hey, I think I'm just done. Wow. And I'm glad we were able to talk him into coming back. Yeah. And I think he would tell you he's glad that he came back as well. And has become a big part of our team. And not only that, he was a little bit squeezed out early on because of some of the other injury stuff. We couldn't get all those guys in there.
Yeah. And
just stayed with it and now has taken really good at bats for us and, makes us a better team with his presence in there. And I'm finally happy to see that because he deserves a lot of credit for sticking to it.
Yeah, I mean, Coach, it kind of speaks to the mindset of a couple of different guys. I mean, Beloso and then Javen Dugas, guys that maybe initially weren't in there, but whenever their number was called, I mean, they've stood up and they've stood tall and they've been great leaders and they've been very productive on the field. Now, I would assume you're probably looking for something very similar as far as maybe an arm that you can count on. I know like Bryce Collins as of late has been a guy, and you know him very well. I mean, he's been in a couple different places with you. It looks like someone like that, right? Maybe started a little slow, but starting to find the things that we have seen him do in an LSU uniform before.
Yeah, for sure. And that was a great appearance, 2 great appearances last week with Bryce. He pitched really good up at Tulane. And then obviously the closing out that Kentucky game when we needed it the most. And he was one of our best pitchers last year, statistically, that was returning. And then just kind of got off to this weird start, which was kind of odd because he'd been throwing the ball good against our team leading into the season. But, he's a mature guy. He's 23 years old. He's not rattled by a little bit of failure. He just kind of stuck with it, was kind of taking one thing at a time to piece together, and was confident he'd get back to where he is. And we really needed that, like you said, and it's great to see.
Coach, can I ask you what is, I'm sure, a very kind of neophyte, layman question about Tommy White that I've kind of been wondering all baseball season, which is about his 2-strike stance, right, where he almost gets in like that Jeff Bagwell, that crouch, like just. But I guess what I'm asking about is why the change of approach, right? Like if that's what you do when there's 2 strikes, why not adopt that stance from the, throughout the entirety of the at-bat?
It's a great Jeff Bagwell reference right there.
Showing our age.
Yeah, that's a good question. He actually does it before 2 strikes sometimes at certain at-bats. And we have a thing, like I've told him, like, hey, man, if you just did that from the outset, like you would hit 500. But you know what? He's so in control of what he's doing.
Yeah.
Very rarely have I seen him get outside of himself since we got going and got started. He's managed the zone incredibly this year. His strikeouts are super low for a guy that gets to that kind of power.
Yeah.
He's a clutch hitter. He's really coachable, and I couldn't speak higher about him and the at-bats that he's taken for us. And did a big time obvious development, getting him here, but then him following through with the contribution. And I'm perfectly good with where he's at as a hitter, and he's doing a great job. And we're lucky he's at LSU.
Coach, obviously, like football, baseball mentality is a little bit different, but I can remember, being in San Diego, we had a couple of running backs go down, and I was the fullback, and I remember Norv bringing us in, and he's like, hey, you, Mike Tolbert, you are fullbacks, but I need y'all to be both because we're down some numbers here, and kind of challenging you. You're like, hey, step up. It's going to be your turn. Even though it's maybe not comfortable for you, we need you right now. Do you have those same conversations with your team right now? So, like, you've had injuries, obviously, on the mound. Like, do you bring guys in and say, hey, look, we've seen you do it before, we need you to step up, or do you let that kind of happen organically?
I think what's good about our team is we have a lot of good players, and a lot of guys have a lot of confidence in themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes they're just waiting for their opportunity. Like, Ethan Fry is going to be a superstar here, and he's a backup and only has 14 at-bats. But if we had to start him tomorrow night, I'd be perfectly okay with that, and so would his teammates. So, there's times I'll pull guys in and mentally or psychologically have a discussion that I think might help them get to their best performance. Happens a lot, actually. But in terms of being ready and stepping up, like, all of these guys want that. Like, Griffin Herring has been great for us, kind of had his first roadblock last weekend, but I mean, I couldn't wait to get him in the game. And 19 games into the year, he only had like 4 innings. And it's just like, well, this guy's going to move into this. We moved Gavin Guidry back to the mound. Like, those guys have just kind of naturally done it. And they have that good confidence and competitiveness and want the ball. And that's good when you have a lot of guys like that. And that's probably a better description of what we are as a team.
Coach, thank you so much, man. Real quick on the way out here. How do you avoid against, you've been through the ringer with all these great teams. How do you avoid against your team fall into the trap of looking at the standings and be like, Ole Miss 3-12. We can just kind of go show up.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. They got 5 starters back from the national championship team. And, I had 3 of their conference series have been against Vanderbilt, Florida, and Arkansas.
Okay.
So it's not hard to figure out. And I think our guys are actually pretty good about this type of thing with knowing our league and the challenges, because, I mean, we're one of the best teams in the country, and we've been put to the test every single weekend in conference. So we don't expect it to be any different this weekend.
Coach Jay Johnson, thank you so much, man. Best of luck in Oxford. As always, we just can't wait to watch this weekend, man.
All right, guys. Have a great day.
Wow, Jake, what incredible takes.
I mean, those guys, they're just the best.
I think so. And if you think so, again, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications when we post every single day here on OTB LSU.